So we bought the C.A.K water tanks. That people would say that they're not the best, but they're the only ones that we could get hold of that fit our vehicle specifically. There is another manufacturer, but they're more expensive. So we went for the C.A.Ks. Delivery was quite quick, and this is specifically designed for a Peugeot Boxer. And then we also have the wastewater tank as well.
So this one is fresh water.
So this is the fresh water, and this is the wastewater. To accompany the tanks, we bought some water gauge sensors. It's just a float sensor. How this works is it goes from 0 to 190 ohms. As it goes further up the shaft, it goes, the resistance goes up or down, I don't know. And then the gauge wires, the water gauge inside the vehicle will change to reflect that. So we also need to put those into the tank. I bought 175 millimeters, which looks to be just about right. Scary, isn't it, how quickly that goes through? And that's it.
Don't you need to screw it?
Yes, then we just put a couple of screws in.
Okay.
This is onto the end of the wire, so you can join the two wires and get decent electrical contact. And this is the wastewater tank then. And I'm guessing we want the sensor in the middle there. In the exact same way as I did before. I'm just going to go straight down into that. So we have this float sensor in here. So what I've done is I've measured it using a multimeter on resistance. I've then turned it upside down, which means that the float would come to the top of the tank. I've re-measured it again just to make sure that resistance changes, just to make sure the float sensor's in there. That's freely moving. And then I'm going to wrap the tank now. So I'm just using trim fix glue, and this is high temperature up to 110 degrees. Hope my water doesn't ever get that hot. And I'm just spraying it onto the tank, onto both surfaces, and then gluing it down. So at the moment we've got one of the fun jobs. Excuse the pictures. It's underneath the van, and we've got the water tank here, which is going to go up in under there. This one's the grey water, so it's the smaller of them. And then that leaves us room to put the other water on the other side, which C.A.K tanks use a mounting system which are candy cane style mounting bolts, which just hook into a hole and then support the tank. As you can see, I'm putting the mount onto the bottom, and then I put the bolts into the holes and then hook them up, push it up, and then bolt it in. This task itself is very unpleasant because you're drilling upside down under a very tight space, and it's very awkward to get to. However, it's worth it in the long term, and it wasn't too bad in hindsight. Oh. So we just spent the last way too long on wiring up this momentary switch here. So it has two wires coming in. I don't know why they've chosen this colour scheme. It's a bit confusing, which is what confused me. So this is the positive and the negative that comes in from the main power source, and then it has, this is the bit that confused me, these two wires which go to the motor, which are the positive or negative. So one I made red and black, I don't know. You would have thought they'd be blue because they can change state. So the idea of this switch is, in this state it's off and there will be no electricity on this wire. When I push this up, this will become positive and this will become negative. And when wired up to this bad boy, which is a valve for the water tanks, it will open the valve. And then when I push it down and hold it down, it's going to close the valve. So I don't want to be supplying electricity to this all the time. So this switch means that it only applies power when you're holding the switch down. So we're not holding electricity, meaning that we need the battery on in order to keep water in the tank or out of the tank, for instance. So it's just an efficient way of using less battery power whilst emptying the water tanks. Right. Unfortunately, it's there. As jobs go, this is probably one of the more unpleasant of them. So we're just so that's that now fitted. So we're just fitting the electronic drain valve, and this is used to automatically drain the tanks whilst not getting out of the driver's seat. It's a real lazy person's add-on, but I found it to be quite useful when we rented the camper van because jumping in and out was a bit of a pain. Just fastened the tanks, and now I'm just trying to figure out how to attach the empty tap to the chassis of the vehicle. So the next thing we did was we drilled a hole for the waste pipe from the sink to go down into the waste tank. It just required drilling a big hole in the bottom of the van, poking it through, and then just sealing it up again. Of course, we did use the metal paint here to stop it from rusting on the drills that we did, which you must do on all of the holes that you make in your van. So this is a reverse polarity switch. So this is just in the fuse box in the front. We're just tapping off of the fuse box to get a 12 volt supply and popping in the switch, which will then reverse the voltages only when we push the switch down in that direction in order to activate that drainage valve. So these two cables go down there underneath the so they go down and then underneath the vehicle, and they connect to the water tanks. So this one here, which isn't connected to anything, it connects to a sensor on the grey water. The other one I've connected via this cable which I ran previously, and that goes into the fuse box here, and it's connected to that little switch there. You can see underneath the driver's seat, underneath the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And that's a momentary reverse polarity switch, it's called. So it's a momentary reverse polarity switch. So you push it down, it goes to negative 12 volts. Push it up, it goes to positive 12 volts. If you release it, it goes back to 0. And what that does is we have a valve on the bottom, an electronic valve, which will open and close depending whether it's positive or negative. And then it will do nothing when it's 0 volts. So it's not going to drain the battery. It's only if you're holding it down it drains the battery, and it just opens and closes the grey water tank, so you can drive up to the grey water place and you can then empty the tank without having to get out of the car. Very lazy, but it's easy. So now we've got the this connected, I'm just going to send this up just in here in front of the wheels, but it needs putting a big hole. If I can find it. Sorry about all those old man noises. So what we're doing now is we're feeding that pipe through the hole, and this is the filler hose for the fresh water. We're going to put a cap on the side of the van which allows us to then open up the cap and fill up our water. So this is just the piece to go for the screws to go into, and it's going to sit on the other side of the metal skin. It also allows us to make sure that the fit of the drill bit is perfect, because obviously I don't want to drill a big hole in the side of my van if it's too big or too small. So we just measured it from the inside to make sure that the template fits within inside this groove, because there's a rail running along the top. And now we're just putting in the filler cap.
Nice. We got hole
And well, watch it. Serious, don't touch the
after cutting it.
or that drill bit. It's going to be bloody hot. So now we have a peekaboo hole. So if you need an emergency wee.
Rust treatment.
Yep.
Rust treatment paint.
More to fasten it than anything. I hope you found this interesting. Thanks for watching, and please help us grow by subscribing. It's always appreciated.